Okay, we'll go ahead and get going. If you guys don't mind, just so that I don't have to waste your time, just like you hate wasting students' time, if you could just go ahead and print your name on this so that I can get the attendance that way rather than having to do it by hand. And I have this pencil that somebody donated up front. So if you don't have a writing utensil, that's the best I can do for you. You can either share that or borrow from your neighbor. Okay, we'll go ahead and get started. We don't really need this in our way, so I'm going to go ahead and get it out of the way as much as I can. How about down there? The topic of this session for this afternoon is the 4 tech tools that we can use to promote the 4 C's of 21st century learning. And I'm going to be going back and forth between a PowerPoint and demonstrating the actual tools. Now, this is an interactive session. This is one of those times where you say to your students, I not only allow you to have your phone out, go ahead. I encourage you to have your phone out. So if you would like to play along, please get your phone out or your iPad or your computer or whatever it is that you happen to have with you, and you are very welcome to play along. You do not have to play along, but you will have more fun if you play along, and we'll certainly have more fun. But I will add to that disclaimer that I will add to that a disclaimer that just like the Zoom session last time wasn't going to be an attempt to show you in detail how to use these tools, it was a sales pitch. This is also a sales pitch, okay? I'm going to show you how to use them, but I'm not going to walk every individual person through every step. If one of these or more than one of these sparks your interest, that is awesome. I would be overjoyed to work with you on how you could use these in your classes. Even if the technology tools don't spark your interest, because there are some people who looked at this when they looked up when I called attention to 4 tech tools, I saw a couple people go, if tech tools aren't your bag, that's fine. We're still going to be talking about the 4 C's. And there's many, hopefully just the topic itself will inspire some thought of how you might add some new non-tech tools to your teaching toolbox. Okay, with that disclaimer set, let's go ahead and get started. For those of you guys who are in the education program, you teach education, the idea of the 4 C's is absolutely no mystery to you, because they preach the importance of teaching the 4 C's in K through 12. They've just beaten that horse to death, and then they've kept beating it. Are the equine people in here yet? Okay, good. They missed that one. I'm glad. Probably not the right analogy of this goal. But for other people, some of these might be some new ideas. So let's start out with looking at what exactly do we mean by the 4 C's. And let me get this little guy out of the way too. Out of the way. The 4 C's are critical thinking, communication, creativity, and collaboration. Now, let's just define those terms to make sure that we're all on the same page. I know that everybody in here is a native or advanced speaker of English. You don't need for me to define critical thinking for you. But still, let's just make sure that we're all on the same page. So critical thinking is looking at problems in a new way, formalizing knowledge and use of different types of reasoning, and linking learning across subjects and across disciplines. Okay? That's kind of what I'm going to be meaning. Communication is sharing thoughts, questions, ideas, and solutions. Most of those are not controversial topics. Those 2 definitions are probably not controversial. Creativity is where you can start causing a little controversy. Because what do you think your students think of when you say, oh, I want you to be a creative thinker? What do your students think that they're going to have to do? Right, paint and draw, and oh my gosh, surely she's not going to bring crayons into this class and stuff like that, right? Well, that's not what I'm thinking about when I teach creative thinking. Painting is not what I'm going for, okay? For creative thinking, I'm thinking about approaching problems from new ways, from innovative ways, with innovative ways, and also being the creator of knowledge. Giving your students, instead of you being the person up here lecturing knowledge, giving your students the opportunity to bring knowledge into the class themselves. So rather than me lecturing on what is creative thinking, letting you guys, pretending that you didn't know what that was to start with, letting you guys spend a minute on your phone, Googling it or looking it up in Wikipedia or whatever, and then you telling me, okay, so, or, you know, that's the basics. You can take that to creating a whole web page or a whole wiki for your particular class. So therefore, the student becomes the creator of knowledge. And then collaboration probably isn't a controversial definition either. Working together to reach a goal, putting your talent, expertise, and smarts to work. The definition isn't controversial. The act of how to accomplish it may be, because we all know how students react when they hear, oh, and the group project will be worth 50% of your grade. I mean, personally, my husband sees a class syllabus like that, and he immediately drops the class. That's it. We're done. No group projects. So, you know, there's some fear for that. So what I want to do is talk about those 4 C's one by one, and then talk about some tools that we might use, some technology tools that we might use in order to incorporate them into our classrooms better. Why do we care, though? Let's start with that. I always, you know, we say to you guys that you need to discuss the importance, try to bring home to the students, to your students, the importance of a topic. So why should you care whether you're teaching critical thinking and collaboration beyond the fact that you already know that these are important things? This survey, this graph right here, comes from a AACP study done by the Hart Research Associates on what, they did a survey of a group of like Google, Microsoft, Cisco, big companies. Though I can name the technology ones, but also big business companies, big marketing companies, so on and so forth. They surveyed the hiring managers in these companies, and they asked an open-ended question. What are you looking to hire? When you hire graduates from college, entry-level employees, what skills are you looking for? 82% of those employers surveyed said that they were looking for critical thinking and analytical reasoning. 82% volunteered that answer themselves. 81% complex problem solving. 80% written and oral communication. 72%, I'm a librarian. This made me so happy. 72% of employers volunteered the term information literacy. Woo! But why is that important? Students need, you can't be, when you're an employer, you can't train the person to do every little thing. You assume they went to college and learned how to teach themselves a little something. So, information literacy. 71% innovation and creativity they want. 67% of employers volunteered teamwork skills in diverse groups. In other words, collaboration. And 55% of employers volunteered quantitative reasoning. So, the 4 C's are really important to employers. And we want our students to be able to we want them to be educated. We also want them to be gainfully employed. So, that's why this is important. So we're going to start out with critical thinking and a tool called Padlet. What I'm going to try to remember to do as I go through this is I'm going to try to remember to stop with this sort of slide where I first name the tool and then break out and show it to you. And then after you have some concept in your head of what it even looks like, then go back and talk about its value. That's what I hope I can remember to do. So if I get off track with that and I just start running, say, can we see the tool? Or say, can you tell me why I'd want to use it? Feel free to keep me on track. Okay, so let's break out for a second and look at Padlet. Ellen has mentioned Padlet a couple of times in her talks. What Padlet looks like is this. Padlet is either an app on your phone, or your students can reach it by their computer. So either device that they have in the room, Padlet. Okay, let's try to find a pen. Yeah. Should have brought my own, huh? Yes. Aha, I got lucky. If you want your students to access this on their computer, they would simply go to Padlet.com. If you want your students to access this on their phone, they would go to their app store, and you guys can do this yourselves. Go to their app store, whether it's Apple or Google, it's available on both, and search for Padlet. Padlet is a free app. Do I already have that one open? Excellent. This is what it looks like to them on their phone once they have it downloaded. It's not terribly exciting. It's just a simple little thing, but so you can know what it looks like if you're playing along. This is what it looks like, and it gives the students the ability to either log in with their own account, which you can have them do, that's fine, or they can simply press the very bottom line, which says continue as guest. So I'm going to go ahead and press continue as guest. And when I do that, for some reason, Chase tells me that it wants to sell me something. But when I do that, then I get a simple screen that says either scan a code, a QR code, or enter a code. So this is what it would look like to the students once they have it downloaded and they walk into the room. And so what I do, I use this a lot in my class. What I do, you can share this screen with your students in two ways. You can send them the URL, in other words, just a link to it, or you can go, whoopsie daisy, you can go up here to share and click the share link and have this QR code open. When my students walk into their in-seat class and they see the board looks like this, then they know they do this. Oops, I got to click that. And then that takes them directly to a page that looks just like that, right on their phone.
So when they're in Padlet,
Yes, yeah, when they're in Padlet, they click on that little thing that says scan a code, and they can literally just do it when they're walking in, just like that. Most of them do. This is how this usually goes. Okay, that's how it usually goes, because they know they're going to have to put in a lot of work that day. Okay, so, but it's as simple as that. When I do this with my Moodle class, see where it says print code? If I print that, it's like copy and paste. Then I can paste that QR code into Moodle as an image, and then they can access it that way. And usually when I do that, just because I can't give as much help to the Moodle students, because I'm not face-to-face with them, I also usually post the actual link to the URL. Just, two ways is better than one, right? So you're thinking to yourself, groovy. We know all about getting into this stupid app now. Why the heck would I want to get into this app? What can we do with Padlet? I'm going to go ahead and close this QR code real quick. What Padlet does is it gives you kind of gives you this, really. Only in a technological format, right? So you can put up, like for example, I posted, how can Padlet encourage critical thinking as one prompt. And I posted, when might I use Padlet as another prompt. And then I posted, what are some advantages of Padlet as a third prompt. And I can have the students come in and either answer those questions because they've read something about the topic. I can have this be my opening minute paper. Or I can have one of these in the middle of my lecture that I say, okay, now let's take a minute to pause and think. Put this up, let them answer put their answers in then. I can put this at the end of class as another type of little formative assessment. I can put this in Moodle so that they can look at it later. All sorts of times and ways that I can put this up. Yes, ma'am. Nope, just stretching. Oh, just stretching. Okay. So, yes, ma'am.
I have a question. I was looking on the app and I went in there and it said that it's a 30-day free trial and then it's $12. Is that wrong?
You probably may have gotten the wrong one. This is everything I'm showing to you today is 100% free. I would never show you guys a pay app because really.
Padlet.com though.
Oh, well, you can upgrade to a, well, it might give you that little thing. You can upgrade to a paid version, which has like some really minor advantages that nobody really cares about. Yeah, and if you log into this like on a computer, it makes you go by a screen that says, if you upgrade, you get this, but you have to click skip. It's fine. Yeah. So how does it work? If you're on a computer like I am, you can click any one of these little pluses, any place you see a plus, and you can add an answer to the Padlet. If I am on my phone, I see the same little pluses, so I can click one of the pluses. And let's see, how can Padlet encourage critical thinking? Let's see, I can put in by having students answer critical thinking prompts. Hopefully I spelled some of that right. Oh, well, prompts is really special. And as they put in their answers, those answers pop up there. And the way I usually use this is I'll put up a prompt, like I said, either for the minute opening paper, some point in the middle of lecture, or at the end as their kind of exit ticket type thing. And then I let them put in their answers. I'll take a minute or two and give them the opportunity to put in their answers. And then I can go back and use this as a jumping off point for further conversation. Or if I've asked an understanding type question, I can look at the answers that I've gotten and I can say, yeah, sort of. Let's think about that a little bit more, you know, if somebody's kind of off base from where I want them to be. Yes, sir.
So do their answers pop up right there so you can see them?
Just like I just typed this one in, bad spelling and all. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, they'll just pop up right along in there. I also like this tool. I mean, you're thinking to yourself, why would I use this in Moodle? Because I've got a discussion forum, right? I can do the same thing in the discussion forum. Well, there's a couple of reasons why I like this as a supplement to the discussion forums. Number one, this is a very visual thing. You can take these students' answers and I'm a librarian. I can take these students' answers and I can categorize them and group them in logical subsets and have those be a jumping off point much more visually easily for them to appreciate than having to go from this post to that post and so forth in a discussion forum. This is very appealing to students with a visual learning style. 2 seconds. Another reason why I like this is because, so I get all these great answers. I can save this as an image or as a PDF. Put that image or PDF into Moodle and have it be the next step of a conversation. And again, it's very visual and easy to look at. And thirdly, another reason why I like, well, there's 2 more reasons. The third reason is this is outside of Moodle. So what if I wanted my students to have an interaction with a important speaker, or maybe a speaker from UK or some important business that they should be exposed to, that's very difficult for me to do inside of Moodle because they don't have a login. But my speaker can post questions and post answers here and interact with my students. So I kind of like that. And the other thing that I like about this is, notice that none of my answers have names associated with them. I can require a student to put in their name. I can ask a student to put in their name, or I can not care. In many instances, I like the not care because, for example, if I'm teaching something controversial, maybe I want the students to feel more free to state their real mind. And if they can just type in and nobody knows who put that up there, I might get more participation. And again, just like giving the students, the ESOL students, a little bit of time to slow down and think and formulate their answers, this is slow down, think, and formulate the answer. This gives them that time. It might take a little of the pressure off of them to be perfect and to be immediate. So these have some advantages. Now, yes, sir.
Can they answer more than once?
Yes, yeah. I can keep putting things in there until I'm blue in the face.
I mean, if you posted a question and they put an answer, can they change their mind?
Yes. Yes. Yeah. They can either edit their answer, the original one they put up, like I could fix that typo if I was really that worried about it right now. I could delete my own answer, but not somebody else's. Or I could put in, like maybe at first I said, oh yeah, I agree with topic XYZ. Then we had further discussion. Then I could say, nope, you guys have convinced me, I changed my mind. Now I think this.
So you don't have to edit it, but you can
add a new one if you want to. Yeah, exactly.
Is there a word limitation?
I haven't hit it. So you can type in, I've typed in big, long answers, some really long. Becky's used this in your class. Do you want to make any comments about how it worked for your all spots?
It worked really well, actually. Probably all the different things that we tried, this worked really well, especially if it was just people randomly putting up their thoughts, and then it could be pulled together and whatever they wanted to do with it. So I think they like not having their names attached to it.
Yeah, I think that's the most successful exercises I've done this with have been anonymous. Giving them the opportunity to just put their thoughts out without having to put their reputation on the line for whatever reason.
In your question area there, can you like enter pictures?
Very good question. Yes, both you as the instructor and the student can put in text, pictures, and video. So you could do quite a bit here. Like for my online classes where they have more time in class, they don't have time to go searching out for a video unless I really give them time. But for my online classes, I make them do a lot more. I expect quite a bit more involvement in the post. And we really end up with some super cool boards. Now, obviously, if you save that board as a JPEG, the video doesn't run. But you don't ever have to delete. Let me go back out. So this is my sample that I brought up for here. But now let me go back out to my main page. Most of the time, if I just do a quick assignment with class, I delete the board. But some really good ones, like information on technology and ethical issues, my students did a great job with that. So I kept it. And I can show it to my next class. And I can let them add on to it. That type of thing. So just real quick, just to give you an idea how easy this is, you log into Padlet as a professor. You create new, or you click new. You can decide whether you want a wall. In other words, their Post-it notes go up, boom, 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 all randomly. You can decide whether you want a canvas. In that case, you can create little mind maps between what they post. That one's pretty neat. You can make a stream, so they all come in one line, kind of like those. Or you can select a grid, which is what I had in that example, where your answers are in little columns and categories. So you can make things neat and organized if you need to. So there's all kinds of different things you can do. So you pick one, you click select. You watch out for the crazy, weird title it gives it, and you type in your own. And you take out the description because they are always super goofy. Usually I end up having to pick something that doesn't make my eyes cross as the background. And then I scroll down to the bottom and I change that god-awful number of symbols right here to something a human could understand. I click next, next, and start posting. That's it. That's all I have to do to get my students ready. And so if they're on their computer, they click this plus and they type something interesting. I'll show you in a second. And then they can put something in. See this little plus right here? Yeah, they get the code. Like you could either give them this URL, padlet.com, my username /test, which is what I named it. Or, once again, you go to share and have that QR code up when they walk in. Done.
Can you embed this in Moodle where they can just go to Moodle every time and click on it?
Yes, yeah. And if I have my students trained to go to, like my computer science students here, know to come in, sit down in the computer lab, open Moodle, and be ready for me to start. So yeah, that's what I do for those classes.
If so, do you have to do it as like an image with the QR each time, or you can just basically
put the link in there?
Oh,
Yeah. In Moodle, if I'm online, I give them both. But for my computer science class where I'm face-to-face, I just give them one. Because I just think that's easier for them.
each time, or just the Padlet link in general, once up there, they go?
If I make,
It has to
and
be a
that's,
specific
that,
time.
well, that depends on how you create it. I can create a Padlet called CIS 235, my computer class.
And they always go.
And they always go into that one, and then I can change, delete, reorganize, whatever. Or if I want to, I can create one called week 1, week 2. But I usually try to stick with something pattern that they can adapt to. Okay? So, we've talked a little bit, as I showed you this, why and how we'd want to use it. But just because I promised myself I was going to stick to these slides, so I tend to use Padlet as a formative assessment tool and to encourage critical thinking through the use of the right types of questions. Exploratory questions, challenge questions, relational questions, diagnostic questions, those little prompts that I put in to start the discussion. depending on what I put in, will require or will not require some degree of critical thinking. Okay? Any questions or thoughts about Padlet?
Does the password have to be specific? It doesn't matter.
I'm sorry?
Does the password, are there any?
There are no passwords. This is wide open. You name the Padlet itself a certain name, but no, you can pick your own name.
So when I registered, my username and password?
Oh, yes, yeah, you create your own username, yeah, for yourself. And I use the same password, username and password. I use my email from Midway, and I use the same password that I use for everything else here, because that way I have some hope of remembering. Okay. And I already talked about these sorts of things. The advantages being it gives you some level of anonymity, gives people from outside the Moodle the chance to participate, and so on and so forth. Okay. The next tool then that I'll talk about is one that I haven't shown here. Padlet, you may have seen me talk about. Certain ones of you guys have already used it. The next tool that I'm going to talk about is one that I haven't talked about here at Midway. It is called Flipgrid. And to play with Flipgrid, you go to flipgrid.com if you are on a computer, or once again, if you would like to, you can download the Flipgrid app. This one's also available in either Android or Mac, in Apple. What is Flipgrid then? Flipgrid is the tool that I am going to recommend for communication skills. And let me hop over to it so that you can see why. I haven't logged in yet. So this is, or else my login timed out. This is Flipgrid. If I go to flipgrid.com, I'm going to go to the teacher admin. Oh, good, I did log in. And this is my grid. Flipgrid, again, as Stephanie pointed out with Padlet, comes in a free and a paid version. But obviously, I'm recommending the free one. Now, there are some significant differences between the free and the paid one here, and I'm going to tell you what they are. With the paid one, you can have as many grids as you want. With the free one, you can have one grid. Okay? With the paid one, your students can speak, and this will make sense in a minute, for as long as they want. With the free one, your students can speak for 1 minute and 30 seconds. And that's it. We'll talk about that in a second. So what do I mean by, with the paid one, I can modify my personal link to be anything I want it to be. With the free one, they give me my link and that's it. I can't change it. So my link is this really weird code, AGEQUV1. But I just put that in my syllabus and the students know it, and that's that. So what happens when the students go to that link? Okay, where'd my phone go? So if they're on their phone and they download it, get rid of Padlet real quick, and go to Flipgrid. Next time you can. When it wants to upgrade. When they open their app, it asks them to enter a grid code. And that's that code that I just told you guys about. Okay? And so you just put that in your syllabus and they can go to it. Or they can go to the URL that I could also put in my syllabus. That's what it looks like. Oh, and by the way, for those of you guys who are like, why doesn't she just use the ladybug? I tried, and it messes up my Zoom recording, so I can't. That's why I'm walking around. So you put in your code, and then, and I'll go ahead and put it in here. AGEQUV1. And you click go, and then it takes you to whatever assignment is in there. So let's see what that assignment looks like on the big computer screen where you can see it, and also then get a chance to see what exactly is going on. So this is what the students see, and this is live. This is my Midway one. I also have another one for my classes at UK under a different username. I use this for my Spanish class here. What does Flipgrid do? Let's solve the mystery. I put in a prompt. My first one for my Spanish class is introduce yourself in English, because it's the first week. Tell us your name, where you're from, what year in college you are, freshman, sophomore, etc., what your major is, and one interesting fact about yourself. So that's their prompt. That's what they have to do. To answer the prompt, well, I'm in test mode, so I don't think I'm going to be able to do it. Oh, yeah, I can. To answer the prompt, they click on this plus, and it gives them the ability to record something for a minute, up to a minute and 30 seconds, because I'm not using the paid version. So this is an actual student who did this. I should pay her for this, about 5 minutes before this session. Oh, there's no sound. There's no sound. But so this is her doing her little video, doing her little introduction, speaking about herself. Why do I like this? Come on, I'm trying to teach Spanish online, people. This is seriously rough. I've got to get them speaking, right? That's the whole point of a foreign language, is that you learn how to speak. So this is obvious for me. But I really like these for other classes too. Let me just get the distraction stopped here. Because obviously, again, we have the discussion forums in Moodle. But this is a much more natural mode of communication. And there are aspects of communication. Look, I'm also a researcher, okay? I understand the importance of written communication, no doubt about it. So I am a strong proponent of making your students write every day in a Moodle forum. Written communication is important. But there are aspects of verbal communication that they can't practice without something like this. So this is a really great way to give your students the ability to capture those verbal aspects of communication. And also, in certain topics, this is a much more natural, as I already said, mode of communication. You can simulate a conversation here in ways that you just can't in a Moodle forum. Yes, sir.
Does the school have a paid version we can tap into?
I'm trying to sell it. I haven't managed to sell that thought yet.
I mean, I see our seniors practicing their PowerPoint presentations.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. For my UK classes, for my online classes, I have my students do their presentations using this, and then they can come back in and view each other's presentations and make comments on them, either video or written comments. And I can give feedback to the students, like, I won't show you because I think it would be kind of a violation, but I've already given this student feedback for the excellent job that she did on this exercise. So I personally think there's a lot of value to this.
One of the things that we tell you when you're out there, searching for work that day, that I realize you have a 30-second elevator talk.
Right.
So part of what this kind of tool will do is teach precision in communication because you have a limited amount of time.
I completely agree with you. When I first started investigating, when this tool was first suggested to me, and I saw that the free version only gave you 1 minute and 30 seconds, my first thought was, I can't show the faculty that. What are their students going to do with 1 minute and 30 seconds? And then I started thinking about it, and I said, maybe learn to be way more concise than me. You know, I think there's a lot of value to being able to make your arguments in 1 minute and 30 seconds. Now, if you want somebody to do a poster presentation, you probably are looking for more than 1 minute and 30 seconds of material. But I got a solution for that for you too. But for, you know, things where you want them to express an argument clearly and concisely, this is a really great tool.
They couldn't do a whole poster presentation there, but they could do the abstract.
Exactly. Exactly. There are many places where I think this would be a really great thing to use. So let's, and it's really just as simple as what you guys saw in terms of using it. You set up your grid, you put in your assignment, and then you tell the students, click the green plus sign, add your video. And when they do it, they can do it as many times as they want. It allows you to record, and then it shows you your recording, and you say, do you want to accept this, or do you want to, it's kind of like when you leave a message on somebody's phone. Do you want to leave this message, or would you like to re-record it? That's what it does. This
Can so each student can see the other person's video. Can they comment on the other person's
Yes.
video?
Yes, which is pretty cool. Yeah, that's, I mean, that's, for this, I have commenting locked out. It's just an introduction, really. But then later on, when I get into the Spanish class, I have them do the same exercise again at the end of the first week, the same exercise again in Spanish. And then I tell them that they have to comment on one other person's asking the question that they had learned how to ask, but that person didn't answer. And then that person has to get back on and answer the question in Spanish. So they have this little simulated conversation, and I get to hear whether they've even bothered to look at the alphabet pronunciation, you know, whether they've learned anything at all. So I'm getting both oral accent and body language. So I'm a happy camper. So it's really, really easy to use. As I've already indicated, I think it's great for introductions, especially for online classes. I think it's a great addition to discussion forums because it's more natural. I think it's good for brief formative assessments. You can, remember we talked about how if you teach something, then you have a much higher chance of retaining it. I have often in my English language classes on information science at UK have the students, because they're online, I'll say, okay, now, today, Kumar, we talked about blah, blah, blah. By the end of tonight, I want you to put up a video that teaches that subject. You teach it. So you can do things like that.
I don't know if I missed it, but could I import, I teach medical vocab online. Can I import a 1.5 minute video of me talking about that class in the middle?
Oh, yes, yeah, you sure can. This tool, you can, instead of...
I can introduce myself to the students through a video and post for that.
Correct, yes, yeah. You can, and I put my instructions in written form. I could have made a video of myself giving those instructions or doing anything else. And then one of your options, once you post the video, is to save it as an MP4 or to link to it. So you could either save it or you could just link to it. So yes, you absolutely could. And this, I used to, for my Spanish class, I used to make videos of certain parts of my lesson and put them on YouTube. I'm remaking them now.
So if I come talk to you, show me how to do it.
I'm excited to do that. Brief student presentations to simulate interviews. It's an asynchronous thing, but at least it's something. At least you've got those verbal body language things going on. And for your own presentations, as Dr. Delfino is just saying you can make your own presentation on a topic. If you've got if you've got a minute and 30-second explanation of how to do this math problem, you can set your camera right here, teach your math problem, and put that up in Flipgrid. Or I could stand here and hold my phone and give a minute and 30-second discussion about information literacy and put that on post that to my Flipgrid. And the students can watch it.
Like you said, you can put that in.
Yeah, and then I can put that link in Moodle. Exactly. And now I hear discussions about, I don't want to redo that though. Can't blame you. Okay. As I said, some of the advantages, nonverbal aspects of communication, more natural feel, encourage your verbal communication skills, and encourage well-planned argumentation and brevity. Okay. Any other questions or comments about Flipgrid? I recommend you guys give it a try. To the best of my, nobody's using Flipgrid already, right?
Gina did. No, I did Padlet.
Padlet, okay. Padlet, did you like Padlet?
I did.
Cool.
Well, it's really nice. We did it for history and systems class, so.
Oh yeah, that'd be awesome.
It was really good. I mean, they had to identify who's a nativist, who was an empiricist, and when would they crisscross, you know, it was
Awesome.
really nice.
Yeah, that would work really well. Yeah. I really recommend giving Flipgrid a try, and I'll be happy to help you with it.
It seems like it's like a video version of the past, right?
It does, yeah.
Yeah, very,
Really.
very much. Yeah, because you have, again, this kind of stream of different,
That's awesome.
right, yes. Yeah, so if they're familiar with one, it wouldn't be challenging to them to do the other. I haven't hit it yet. I haven't hit it. And some of my classes at UK have got 50 people. So that's pretty decent. Yes, sir, sorry.
You said you're only, with the free version, you only get one grid. What does that mean?
So that means that, for example, once I'm done with introductions, so I've got that one grid called Professor Manny. If I've got my Spanish class, but then I wanted to add my UK information science class, they'd be all mixed together. So I had to create 2 different logins to keep those 2 classes separate. Because I really think that my Spanish students would be pretty confused if they started to see postings about creative thinking.
So you don't have different threads in your
Right, you can have different, so like I'm never going to delete those introductions until the end of the semester. I'll just add another topic. I can have as many topics as I want, but I've only got that one grid. So to me, having one grid on Spanish and all of its topics, and then having another login with another grid on information science and all of its topics seems more organized to me. And is that annoying to me? Yes. That's why I would really like for you guys to use Flipgrid so that I can talk solid and fine. I'm not lying to you. This is all about me, people. I'm joking. I really think your students would like this too.
And how long can the videos be in the paper?
As long as you want. Yeah, there's a lot of advantage to
I
that.
was just thinking that this would be really nice for counseling techniques.
Bingo.
Yeah.
So cool. Exactly. Because you could, again, that's all the nonverbal, types of things that would really, really help. Yeah.
Did I misunderstand? I thought you said they could only be like a minute and so many seconds. And then
In the free version. But if we pay for it, if we talk solid and buy this, then we can make it as long as we want. But my understanding is in the paid version, you can still limit it if you want to. So you can force brevity, but you're not required to. Yeah, exactly. Okay. So now we still have, we've talked about critical thinking, we've talked about communication, we still have collaboration and creativity to talk about. So I am going to talk about creativity next. And the tool that I'm going to be using for both creativity and for collaboration is Adobe Spark. Adobe Spark you guys are familiar with Adobe products because you've got Adobe Photoshop, you've got Adobe Reader for PDFs, things like that. And you're familiar with the fact that the reason everybody on campus doesn't have Adobe Pro on their computer so that they can create PDFs is because Adobe is fabulously expensive, right? Well, Adobe Spark is free. And it's really cool. There are 3 tools in Adobe Spark. They are Post, Video, and Page. Post, it allows you to make an infographic, basically. You can use it for a lot of different things. Are any of you guys familiar with another similar tool called Canva? Okay, it's very similar to Canva. And you'll see it here in a second. With Post, you are able to use their workspace, the Adobe workspace, and free pictures, free icons, free fancy fonts, free fancy layouts in order to get aid in designing an aesthetically pleasing image. It can be as simple as just getting a horse and typing the word horse across there. Or it can get a lot fancier and cooler than that, you know, a full infographic with lots of information built into it. I'm thinking poster session, but with this, okay? That type of thing. Video is obvious, right? You can create a video. And Page allows the student or the professor to make a web page. Now you're thinking to yourself, a web page, whoop-de-doo. Wait till I show you an example of one of these web pages. And it's so easy.
Just had a session on the screen readers.
Very good question. Are these the videos? The image is just downloaded as a JPEG. So when you use it, then you would have to put in your alt text. Okay? The videos do have the option of including closed captioning. And the web page is completely reader ADA compliant. Yes, very, very good question, and I appreciate that one because that's an important one to me. So let's take a minute then and look at these. Again, you can do this on, let's see, where do I want to go? I'll go here first. You can do this on the computer, and it's probably a good idea to have a computer account for this. Or you can do this on your phone. You can go to, oh, right, sorry. How about if we put the URL up there? This one is spark.adobe.com. You have to put the Spark up there. And then again, you create, on your computer, you create your own free login using your email. I can also download these to my phone. I know they're available on Mac, on Apple. I am not certain it's available in the Google store, whatever that's called, I forget. I'm not sure it's available on Android. Google Play, thank you. You're not finding it? I was afraid of that. Let me get this out.
There's some Spark stuff that it's not this.
Not, yes, yeah, I seem to remember that problem. So, let me see if I have any of these already logged in.
Can you do it through Amazon?
Okay, so no, So when I have it open and I'm logged in, yeah, exactly, it's boring too. What I start out with is this little red plus, okay? And that's all I get is a little red plus to add something, nothing else. But if you train your students to look for the plus, then you've gotten somewhere. So let me show you, let me see if I have any Okay, so how do we do it? This is my dashboard. On the computer, I'll go to the plus, and then I get asked, do I want to do a post, in other words, an infographic, a page, a web page, or a video? I'll show you a post first, because we're talking about creativity. We want students to create their own knowledge. So we want them to create a useful infographic, say, or poster session to communicate some knowledge that they have gathered. So I can either start from scratch, or I can use some templates, and you'll see that I have popular social media templates, Instagram, Facebook, posters, travel ads, all sorts of different sizes. I'm just going to start from scratch. And then I learned some patience, because you know that's what computers do. And so then I can pick a graphic size. I think I'm going to pick a poster. And then it wants me to type in something. And then I learned some more patience. And so then I get to this page where I can start choosing filters that are appropriate. So if I choose this one, there's my type in some text. If I choose that one, it puts that on the background. If I choose this one, blah, blah, blah. So they can play around with how they want the layout to be, the design to be. They can change. They can put in some shapes, they can change the colors, they can change the font. They can play around, and in the end, after fooling around with things, come up with a really sophisticated infographic or poster or whatever. Now it takes some fussing, you know, to get satisfied with the way you want it to be. But they provide free images, and let's be clear on this. These images are copyright free. So everything you create with this is completely legal to use. So, and you can also, you don't have to use their images. If you take a picture that you want to use, you can upload your own picture to it. But it gives you that layout help to create something in a way that is aesthetically pleasing, which for those of us whose best artistic expression is that. I mean, you saw the picture I drew yesterday. For somebody whose best artistic expression is a stick figure, I'm happy to accept the help. Okay? And I think that when you ask students to do things like poster sessions and infographics and so forth, they'll find the experience much more successful if they do something like this. You'll be much more pleased with the results.
Can you print what you?
Yes, yes. You can save it as a JPEG, so you keep it. You can leave this up in the cloud, which I'll show you one that I've got in the cloud that the Maduka students and I made. You saw us make it last semester. So you can save it in the cloud, or you can download it as a JPEG and save it yourself and print it. Now, if you've made something poster size, then you're going to need a plotter to print it. But if you've made it regular standard 8.5 by 11 paper, great. Okay.
I know it might be a kind of stupid question.
Yes.
So, do you need a student permission when you post something about the student, for instance, their pictures or something?
Yeah.
You need a kind of written sign and say, I am blah, 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 and I give permission to my teacher to...
Yes. Let's go back to my projects. Let's go back to my projects. I'm going to delete this one because it's horrific. But you can see that I can download it or I can delete it. I'm going to delete it. But let me go to her question. And let me show you another example of, this is not post. Now this is video. Yeah, oh, believe me, I have. Okay, so we don't have sound. But what's happening here is I had these Maduka students make this video. We made it together in our little Maduka class, and they're saying something along the lines of, I am an educator, I am an educator, we are educators, we open doors to better opportunities. I'm an educator, we teach English, we empower the youth of Panama. So that's what that says. It took us about 15 minutes to make this video, and none of them had ever made a video before. We made it entirely on my phone. I got every one of them to sign a release saying that I could use their images that way. Yeah, because I personally, I would never put the university, if I'm using a student image, I would never put the university at a liability risk without getting a signed release on that, because that's what I've been taught. But if you, and those, okay, so how did we do that? Let's play. Like I said, I did it on my phone. So I hit plus. I am going to start one from scratch. I would like for you, when I tell you to. Okay, so quiet it down for a second. This is how easy it is. So it's as simple as just going up to somebody and, okay, let's add another one. Let's see. I will take a picture. Edie. Okay, use photo. And yeah, I got it, thank you. And now, let's add some conversation to that. Introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Karoline Manny. I'm Chair of Social Sciences.
And see, it added all this lovely music to it. You can tone the music down. All kinds of stuff like that. It's that easy to make something like that. And the thing I really like about this is, let's talk about some uses for it. Let's suppose that your students have to do field observations or some sort of a field trip, or you're taking them someplace. Like, for example, the Bourbon Studies last year went on a bunch of different field trips, and the assignment that Tricia gave them was to use Adobe Spark Video to make some videos of their field trip, to narrate, take a picture and narrate it a little bit. So, and you can do this on the computer too. Let me do one on the computer so that you can get an idea of what that looks like. So once again, I go to plus for video, and I learn patience. And I give my video a title. And then I can either pick one of these storyboards, or I can just click Start from Scratch. So I'm going to choose Start from Scratch. And then I can add a video that I've already taken, a photo that I've already taken, text. I can add icons, and if I do that, it will give me little figures to add in there. In order to add narration, I just hold this down. This is a narration of this little man. He certainly does look weird standing there, but we can have this as a video if we want. Okay? And you saw when I was doing it, it told me how long my video was, or how long my speaking was. If I had gone beyond 15 seconds, it would have started warning me. Hey, you kind of, it literally says stuff like, You're a little long-winded, aren't you? You want to learn it? One of them said to me one time, "You want to learn some brevity?" So it's got a little bit of a smart alecky attitude, but it doesn't stop you. You can make it go as long as you want. So again, if you've got an entire math problem worked out, and you take a picture of your math problem, then you can add that picture to the video, and then do a voiceover of yourself explaining it, and off you go. Same thing for a poster session. If you've got your poster made, then you can take a picture of it and do a voiceover of you describing the salient features of your poster, whatever. And it can be as long as you want. And if you've got like quadrants in your poster, you can have 4 different slides in your movie. So as to describe things like that. I think this would be really cool when you do your study abroad. You could have your students take different pictures of places, and then when they come back, they can make a little picture narration movie of their experience. That kind of stuff.
How is this different from Storify?
Okay, Storify it allows you to gather all sorts of things.
That's right.
So Storify, you can put your videos in here too, and things that you brought down that you saved on YouTube. You could put in your tweets, and also if you were on a trip, maybe you had your students take a picture, tweet about it, make a Facebook post. You could gather all those things into that one Storify. Everybody's experience in the trip.
I knew there was something in that. Yeah.
So these are really super easy tools to use that the students can put together something really creative. Instead of only writing you a paper, and I'm not saying don't have them write, because I've already said that I'm a strong proponent of writing. I think that it would be a neat addition to your paper, your assignment, to have them do something like this to accompany it. And these are the types of things that promote both verbal and written communication and creativity. Let me see if I have, okay, let me bring up this now. Yeah, the reason I couldn't get that then is because I'm in the wrong browser. So let me get it in the right browser real quick. Oh, look. Okay, so I've never watched this. I don't know whether it's any good, but we don't have sound. Yeah. They made a little video. I'm sure it was great. Okay. Let's look at page then. So that I thought the post and video I think are great for creativity, to allow students to be the creators of knowledge in one form or another, whether it's a static picture or whether it's a video with voice. And it's possible for students to collaborate in video, Spark Video. But I think a tool that lends itself to collaboration better is Spark Page. Let me show you an example then of what Trisha's groups did for she had 2 different groups on the tours. And group 1 made this website as a learning artifact of their 4 different distilleries that they visited. So it starts out here, and this is an image, a picture that they took there, a description of what tour is, which they were asked to work with, a video that they took there. Then they get into tour. The first part of tour, the T of tour, is theme. So they discussed what theme they saw at this particular distillery, and then they included pictures to illustrate that. The O in tour is organization. So they discussed that, and then they included pictures to illustrate it. And so on, and so on, and so forth. So that's one example. Let me see if I can find the other one. Okay, so this is another group. They did a little bit more text, and then they did a somewhat different layout with their pictures to illustrate their text. Included lots of stuff, more description, more pictures, so on and so forth. And what Tricia had them do, we created a Spark login for group 1 and for group 2. And they logged in, they all shared that login. They logged in, they put up their pictures, they designed the site together, they planned their words together, they edited together, they collaborated all together, put together this page, and then this is what they turned in as a write-up for their field trip to these four distilleries.
Did they collaborate in different locations?
I don't know the answer to that. My guess is partially yes and partially no, because I know that the students had to come together for 4 solid days to go to these distilleries, so they were physically together during that time. But I know that there were some issues with that because they were coming from such diverse locations. So I imagine that some of the collaboration happened while they were together, and then some had to happen online. So
Better for a face-to-face class rather than online.
I personally think that this would be super easy to do for a campus class because the kids are all together. I think if you did something like this online, you would provide a lot of instructions for them, and probably a Zoom meeting in Moodle, or at the very least a chat room where they could talk with each other and plan with each other and stuff like that. But I think these types of things, in addition to promoting collaboration, are also great because they promote creativity. Those students were really the owners of that information, and they proved it by putting together something like that. And if we were teaching that class some more, I think that this would be a really great, I mean, if I were teaching that class, I would feel very proud to show my new students, this is the standard you guys have got to live up to. You guys have got to do better than this if you want to impress me. Because I thought they did, I never got a chance to ask Tricia how she thought it was, but when I went back and looked at this, I thought they did a pretty darn cool job. I mean, and if I had to grade that versus just a straight up paper, I probably would like that. I hope I would. I really hope I would, because I think that that has so much potential. Okay, so I think things like that are great opportunities for the students to be creators and the owners of knowledge and to collaborate. Okay, and those are the 4 tools that I was going to talk with you guys about. Do you guys have any questions or comments?